All right, so how did I get into high ticket dropshipping back in 2011? Well, back then I was working a day job, and it was at a lock and security hardware company. And the whole thing back then was just to get a job so that I could easily afford to pay my bills and live in Los Angeles and skate the rest of my time and enjoy my life. I didn't really have a whole lot of goals beyond that. LA inherently is a very expensive place to live, and I was fairly new there. I had just come out there in 2005, 2006 for the first time. Coming, I grew up in Seattle. I, went to high school out in North Idaho, kind of in the boondocks. In the woods. And so LA, when I got into skateboarding, LA seemed like the best place I could possibly be. So I decided I wanted to be out there. So when I got out there, it was tough finding jobs and stuff like that, but I knew that I had it in me, and eventually I did find a job, and that was around 2008. And for the first few years there, I was just kind of working in the warehouse, figuring out SKUs and part numbers and stuff, and packing orders, shipping orders, stuff like that. I also got into doing the receiving and doing returns management, all this stuff. And eventually I got recruited, or asked to move up into sales, because I was pretty good with the customers that would come back and ask questions about the products. So one of those customers happened to be a locksmith that I got along with really well, and I started, talking to and stuff like that. And I basically, we decided to start a business together. He was exploring ideas on how to start a e-commerce business, and I wanted to start something on my own as well, because I was doing a lot of cool stuff with e-commerce. Even back just from high school, I had sold some used photography equipment on eBay. Out of high school, I sold all my old stuff, including a bunch of old Pokemon cards on eBay for a bunch of money. And throughout college, I was and I was going to college since 2005 in LA at a community college, but I was selling my used textbooks on Amazon. And so I had some e-commerce experience, but I wanted to do more with it. One of my very first drop shipping supplier was actually my dad. It turns out funny story, he had a bank of very expensive computers handed to him by the company he worked at, Siemens Medical, and they were trying to get rid of them. They didn't know what to do with them. They're just really old computers, but they were very fast and very useful computers still. And so he's like, well, hey, listen, I'll ship them to whoever you want to sell them to, and you can keep the money, and just use it for the experience. And I thought that was really nice. So I went ahead and posted them on eBay. I did some market research, found out what they go for, and set them at a fair rate. And they sold pretty quickly. And he shipped them out and everything. And there was even one that came in. The guy needed it next day, and he was willing to go to the store and do the next day shipping and everything for me. So it was really cool. So my dad was actually my very first dropshipping supplier. So thanks, Dad. That was pretty cool. But after that, I decided to try out dropshipping myself, using an actual legitimate supplier business. And the way that came about was I was working, and I met this guy, Scott, and Scott was a locksmith, and he decided to start a business with me, a partnership. And at the time, we were just exploring skateboarding, because I'm a skateboarder and I love skateboards. So I, wanted to start a brand or something like that. So that was my first thing. And after that, I decided, skateboards, it's a little bit like the price is really low on them. So I don't think it's going to work, because, when the price is too low and you have a lot of competition from physical retailers and the margin is too thin, it's just, obviously the numbers don't work out, right? So due to that, I decided it wasn't going to work out. So, and that's fine. If it was something like I was importing from China, and let's say I imported blank decks and I wanted to print them and sell them, okay, that might have worked out, because the margin's probably a lot higher. I could import a deck for $5 or $10, and then I could sell it for $40 or $50 maybe. That kind of margin would work. But the way I was trying to go about it was using a distributor in the States, and they were marking it up because they had already imported it, right? So the pricing just didn't work out. And anyway, so we were looking around, and we actually found out, he noticed on one of his trips to to work, to a job, is that there were a bunch of kids riding around these really neat looking, retro looking bicycles called Fixies, fixed gear bikes in North Hollywood. And it was like a huge group of them. And he said, well, hey, this might be a trend. So we looked it up, and sure enough, they were trending at the time. And that was one of the first things that I, started realizing was like, you've really got to stay clued into trends, and trends are going to help you to catch on to things that are going to do a lot better than other stuff might, right? Now, with the way I teach things, the way I tell people to do things now, I tell people not necessarily to chase trends, because it's always better to have something that's evergreen, that's going to continue to sell year after year, month after month, But anyway, so my first business was a very trendy business, and it was selling fixed gear bikes. We didn't know who the suppliers were, but we did just a basic web search, and we found some manufacturers, and we hit them up. One of them happened to be located in Los Angeles and have a warehouse, and they were willing to drop ship for us as long as we made an upfront purchase beforehand. So we needed to make a bulk purchase of 10 of their products. They were being really cool about it, a little bit bigger company, so they didn't really care what 10 products they were, and they sold everything from $1,000 plus products to $10 and $20 products. So we bought a few of these $50 products, 10 of them, and just ended up giving them away to a charity or something like that. But that was the first thing. That's how we got the account, and from there they were willing to dropship for us. They just charged us a dropship fee and a credit card fee, and they shipped it out. So that's really cool. And so the first website we set up actually was, I didn't know how to set up websites back then. So the first one was just a basic HTML website. And I didn't even set it up. Someone else set it up. He hired an SEO guy. And set up a website, and we signed up for a PayPal business account, and we had PayPal buy buttons and all that. And he ran some SEO, just generic keywords. And it took about a year. We first set up the site around 2000, what was it? 2010 or something like that. And that website didn't really start converting until a year later. But it started getting a bunch of sales, which is cool. So all the money we'd invested into the SEO service paid off. We pretty much broke even after a year. But along that same time, I had found a website called eCrater, which turns out it's an eBay alternative, and eCrater still exists actually today. They charge a fee. They didn't charge a fee back then, but they charge a fee now when you make sales. And but it's free to list, and it's basically just like eBay, and they run Google Shopping ads for you, which is nice. So I listed their products on there and started getting sales right away, because back then nobody was selling on Google Shopping. It was just very few people, mostly brick and mortar retailers. So I ended up just getting really lucky, selling a bunch of their products month after month. At first it was 3 or 5 a month, then it was 10, 20 a month, then it was 30, 40 a month, and it started taking off. The first year we did 100,000 in sales wasn't until 2013. That was the year that I quit my job. So from 2011 and 2012, sales were pretty stagnant, and so I wasn't really sure if we were going to be able to do this, if it was going to work out. It was sort of just floating around 30 to 50K a year, a few sales a month or something like that. But once we got to 100,000 in sales by the end of 2013, I was like, this is it. I'm doing this. Because after everything's said and done, I could probably replace my full-time job with this income if I live on a budget. So, end of 2013, 100,000. 2014 was a huge year, and we did 500,000 in sales. So we pretty much 5x what we had done. I was having, I was getting all this organic traffic. I set up a WordPress and WooCommerce site. So I learned that. Back then, Shopify wasn't as big as they are now. So I was using WooCommerce, and we got a ton of organic traffic. So I was getting on board with more suppliers, uploading their products. I was doing reviews of their products, videos, assembly videos, all that cool stuff. So it was really neat. Doing a lot of work. I had a studio in my apartment and everything. And I had basically captured just a ton of organic sales, and organic sales are free. That's the best thing about organic traffic, is it's free. So 10K months with organic traffic, you just pay software and a VA to help update stuff. And it was whatever it was after software and that, it was $900 or $9,500 a month net profit. So we were doing great throughout that year. And that was more than enough to live on a full-time income. But my partner, he was just helping kind of with some phone stuff. He wasn't really doing anything else. I started doing everything myself. And so I talked to him about it, and he agreed to drop down to like a, what was it, like an 80-20 split or something instead of a 50-50 split by the end of that year. And into the next year, I decided to open up a physical retailer store so I can get bigger brands on board and stuff like that. And that actually ended up not working out because the brands that I got on board, they required these huge upfront investments, and then I would have to be at the shop all day long and or hire somebody to be there, which was very expensive, and there just wasn't enough traffic. I eventually shut the shop down by the end of that year and sold everything at cost just to get out of it. And I actually traded the lease over to a friend who took it over. He had a skateboard distribution company, so that's really cool. It worked out. I decided to go back and work in my apartment. And then by that time, I had gone through this whole process where I'd switched the website over to Shopify, lost a ton of organic traffic because I didn't do the URL redirects properly, and switched it back to WooCommerce, got the business back, but I was kind of stressed out by then. I wanted to see maybe I could sell the business, and I could, and it was worth it. I didn't get nearly as much as I should have gotten it for it, but I did make a sale. Got $50K and was able to take a whole year off and just kind of travel around and stuff, and got back to work 2016, started a new store and started taking off again. And then I became a digital nomad. So that's kind of the story of how I started my first store and sold it. That's kind of what you go through. You go through a lot of ups and downs in business, especially if it's your first store. Did I make a lot of mistakes? Yeah, of course I made a lot of mistakes, but I think we all make mistakes, and I learned a lot from them. I also continue to make mistakes today, but I also still try to learn from them, and we're all human, so we're all going to make mistakes. It is what it is. But that's it, guys. If you guys want to be a part of the process and join the community, I have a Patreon. You can go join that, ecommerceparadise.com/Patreon, or just go to my site, ecommerceparadise.com. All my links are on there. I provide coaching services, all that stuff, tons of free resources, as well as, complete done for you services. So I still do this stuff today. I still have stores. I still start new stores, and I still start stores for other people as well as scale them. I do ad account management, all that stuff. So I'm still doing this stuff today. It still works. I'm getting those little Shopify cha-ching notifications every single day. So it's great. But if you guys want help, if you guys want to use this business model to make money with, just let me know. Happy to help. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. See you guys out there. Take care.